Welcome, everyone. We appreciate you taking time out. You've spent a lot of time with us already. And we're going to try to cut this down to like no more than like an hour 15, hour and a half. I know that sounds like a lot, but there's a lot of information here. Please don't hesitate to stop us at any point. If you have any questions or something that we're talking about makes no sense, or if you need further clarification, just as a forewarning, we are going to have some breakout room activities. So you have that to look forward to. So keep an eye on like what's happening on our screen. But in any case, a lot of you have worked with me. I'm Shelby Concepcion. I'm one of the coordinators in education abroad. I have been here for a while, and a lot of you have also been working with Megan. Megan, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hey everybody. I know I've worked with quite a few of you, but I'm Megan Ramirez. I'm also a coordinator here with WVU. And if you're NSC or doing any of the Taiwan programs, I've definitely spoken with you before.
Super fun. Overall, I just want to say I'm very jealous of every single one of you. It's super fun to work with y'all. But more than anything, I just get really, I get FOMO really bad. Okay, but first and foremost, you guys are studying abroad, right? So you are earning credits and grades for everything that you're taking while you're abroad. That means that it's going to affect your GPA once it's all transferred back. As far as course registration, we will be sending out like a specific CRN for that placeholder course for all of you. We may have talked to some of you about that. This placeholder course is 0 credit hours, depending on your program, right? It's a specific CRN for your program. You cannot search it in STAR because we don't want random students applying, like registering for these placeholder courses, right? It's going to bill you what you should be billed according to what's on that program website, right? Check with us if you have questions about the CRN that you're sent. And I believe the majority of those should be going out on April 9th.
Right, they'll actually be going out this Friday, I believe, because the 9th is a Saturday.
The 9th is a Saturday, and I'm not going to answer your emails.
Right, so keep an eye out Thursday, Friday.
Maintain a full-time course load on campus for as long as possible. Some of you are studying abroad in the summer. You do not have to take 12 credits in your program, but if you're doing a semester or full year program, make sure that you're taking the minimum equivalent of 12 credits at your host institution. Right? And with some of you, that means you're going to have to do a little bit of math. If the credit system is different than the WVU credit system, make sure that you're taking the equivalent of 12 credits. If you have questions about that, I'm not good at math, but I can look at our website and help you make those judgments. Keep your syllabi and coursework. No matter what you're taking, it's just a good idea to have that on hand in case any questions come up later about, you know, what the courses you took, how they fit into your degree works, things like that. Also check your mix email, right? I know you're going to be really distracted being a student somewhere else, but we are going to send updates with forms for you to fill out and, you know, welcome back kind of stuff. Also, we love pictures. We love seeing what you guys are up to. I love knowing that you haven't been stung in the heart by a stingray. So if you guys are having a great time or like are having cool experiences, send us pictures, and we like to post those on our social media as well.
Yes, yeah, feel free to tag our social media. Feel free to send pictures to us and say like you want them shared on social media. And also if you're interested in doing like an Instagram takeover for the day, let us know, because we would love to work with you and share your experience and have other people kind of see what cool things you're getting up to wherever it is you're studying.
Absolutely. I'll share our Instagram handle at the very end, but we did have, I think it's shared on our highlight reel or something, but Sarah, who's been studying in Germany for the year, did an Instagram takeover of like what everyday life is like in Germany. Super cool. This is less interesting to look at, but also very important. Partway through your program, this is for semester programs. Summer, it's a little bit different. So, but for semester students, we'll be sending you an email mid-semester with this registration form. This is where you're confirming the actual classes that you're presently enrolled in, how many credits those are in WVU credits, right? And this is used for financial aid, scholarships. Your advisors use this just to confirm what your actual registration is while you're there. As I said before, you must maintain full-time credit load in your host country, right? So if you need to drop down to 9 credits, that's a big red flag. Talk to us before you make any changes to your schedule, okay? Any questions about this?
I had a question. My program is just like a 4-week summer program, so it's not like 12 credits, it's only
Correct.
5. So
Correct.
how would I fill out this form? Like,
You would not. So we don't
Okay.
send this to summer students. Yeah, so this is only for semester students or full year students.
All
Sorry, summer people. You do not have to fill this out. The next section is going to apply to you.
Thank you.
But this does not. Okay, all of you are taking courses in Transient, right? That means that you are taking courses through a different university and having them transferred back to your WVU student transcript, right? There are 3 main components to this process. Probably a lot of you have already been working with the lovely TER system, transfer equivalency review request. This is through the registrar's office. It's basically an overarching, what does this class equal at WVU, right? If you're looking for a B Core 360 class and you find some stuff and you put it through the system, you can like upload a syllabus, it gets channeled out to a faculty and they say, this is equivalent to, you know, WVU's B Core 360. There are a lot of times where there are really unique and interesting classes that are offered at the schools that you're going to, and they are not going to be equivalent to anything at WVU. You will still earn credits and you'll still earn grades. So you can still put it through TER and see like what course category or course code goes along with it. But just be aware, they're not all going to be equivalent, but you will be earning them all, okay? And you should talk to your advisor about where those classes fit in your degree works, whether or not, you know, they have a direct equivalent, okay? The second part of transferring your credit is a transient form. The registrar likes to call it the study abroad form. We have lots of forms, but this is the transient form. This is essentially your department giving you permission to earn those credits on your transcript after your semester. So I really recommend getting this signed. I'll move forward a little bit. This is what it looks like. I recommend getting this filled out and submitted to your advisor once you've actually registered for classes at your host institution. That's just so that you don't have to fill out multiple. It's okay if you fill out multiple, but essentially this is just creating a checklist of the courses that you're taking abroad and giving you permission to receive those on your transcript. If you get your transcript back and you have all of your courses in from your semester, but you have not submitted one of these transient forms, you'll see on your like degree works and on your unofficial transcript, like needs transient approval, and you won't get those credits until you filled out one of these forms. So when you fill this out, give it to your academic advisor, not me. We can't do anything with it. Send it to your academic advisor and they'll upload it online to be approved by your academic department, okay? If you change your schedule once you're there, after you've already submitted this transient form, that's totally fine. Submit a new one, okay? Just add in the courses that you changed. All right, questions about this? All right,
Will
go ahead.
Sorry. Will the transient form appear on our abroad like profile?
No, it will not. We'll send you an email, and also this is available on the registrar's website. Also, your advisors should be aware of it, but it won't appear on your WVU abroad profile.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question also real quick. So if like all of the like syllabi for the classes you want to take are only in like a different language, like I can't find any English versions with my website, is it best to try to reach out to that university or just I guess like like
Sure.
I guess like come up with the English one on your own.
Right.
Um,
Is it like a content course that's taught in a different language?
Yeah,
Like-
it's taught in English, but it's just kind of inconsistent on the school website about whether or not there's like English translations of those.
If you need help getting an English translation of a syllabus, you can reach out to the partner university. You can also talk to us and we can reach out to the coordinator. Was it Spain you're going to? I think I just nominated you today.
It was Seville.
Yeah. Let me know if you need help getting those, because if it's taught in English, ideally the syllabus would be in English. The only other case that would be a little finicky is if you're taking a content course, like a business class that's taught in Spanish or something like that, and you need it to be evaluated for business credits. Then we can, talk about getting like a translation or something like that. But I would say email us and we can see how we can mediate that conversation with the USA.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll send you guys an email.
Great. Third and final part, you will be earning transcripts at the end of your program, right? So it might take a little while after your program has ended. Just like here, you have to wait until your final grades are posted, right, before you can order a transcript. These transcripts need to be sent directly from the host institution. That means the university that you're going at or the affiliated provider that you're working with. One of those needs to send that directly to us. It can't be you handing that over or forwarding an email in order to be considered official. We do accept digital copies, totally fine by me. So they can email us. You've all been aware of our main email address. If they send a physical copy through the mail, they can send it directly to the Office of International Admissions. They're the ones who put in your courses from abroad. It's called articulation. If there are courses listed on your international transcript that are not on an approved transient form, right, this guy, then they'll appear on your unofficial transcript as no EQ, 1 NT, transient approval needed. So again, like I mentioned before, you won't get those credits if they weren't on your approved transient form or if you haven't submitted a transient form for approval. Okay. This can take a minute. Just by nature, waiting on transcripts from a different country, from a different university that's operating on its own academic calendar, right, means that there's can be a delay between when you finish your program and when your transcripts are available. Make sure that your advisors are aware and make sure that the hub is aware. Sometimes your scholarships and financial aid may depend on you having those credits available on your transcripts. You will be in that placeholder course, right? Those credits won't appear until you finish and get your transcript back. Talk to them. We're in contact with them as well, but it's also the burden of responsibility is on you to make sure that everyone is aware of your plans to go abroad and your plans to bring credits back. That goes for both summer and semester programs. Okay. Pop quiz in the chat. Classes taken abroad are pass fail. True or false? False. Thank you all. True or false? I should submit a new transient form if I add a new class. Excellent. Good work. True or false? I can assume that my program abroad will automatically send WVU my transcripts. Yay. False. Never assume anything. WVU accepts digital copies of transcripts. Excellent. Good work, everyone. Glad we're doing a good job. Any questions about academics before we move on? I know that this is a lot of technical things happening that can be confusing and annoying.
I had a question.
Sure.
So how, like, on our paper that we submitted to you, we had to pick out 15 credits for WVU. So when we fill out the one for our institution, do we basically just pick which class we want to drop?
Yeah. So sorry. The course selection worksheet that you guys should have filled out for us and that you worked on with your academic advisor, that's basically your blueprint for the semester. That's you saying, I found these courses, I have some backups in mind. I found at least 15 and there are alternatives just in case something falls through, it fills up it's not offered, it's canceled due to low enrollment. That's you having a backup plan. That is not you actually registering with the university. So once you've been working with your provider company or your host university, they will walk you through how to register for classes directly at that university. So that's why we have the registration confirmation form that we'll send later in the semester, just to, double check what you're actually taking versus what you thought initially, or had planned on initially. If it's exactly the same, that's awesome. If it's changed a little bit, that's totally fine. Make sure your advisor is aware as well.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Megan, do you want to take this?
Sure can. All right. So you're going to another country. So a very important document that you will need is your passport. So you're going to need this to leave the country. You're going to need this to come back to the country. Make sure that your passport has at least 6 months valid on it after you come back. So if you're going to France for the fall semester, make sure your passport is good for at least 6 months after your return date. So if you're coming back in December, make sure it's good for 6 months after that. If you haven't applied for a passport yet, please do so. And make sure to check that you still have enough time to participate in your program. If you need more information about passports or how long it's valid for, you can go ahead and follow the link there. The Department of State has a ton of resources and information. If you haven't applied for a passport, our office is a passport acceptance facility. You can apply right here at Puritan House, but you will need to make an appointment. In addition to your passport, you may need a visa to travel. So a visa is basically permission from the country you're looking to go to. It's your permission to enter, your permission to be there. So a lot of you, if you're looking at summer programs, might not need these, but if you do, your program provider or host university you're studying with, they should be working with you on this. Same thing for fall programs. Your host university should contact you about visas. If they haven't, or if you have any questions about visas, reach out to our office. We're happy to look into this for you and make sure that everything is on track and that everything is good for you to travel and fully participate in your program.
I do want to jump in here, Megan, on the topic of visas. We can help you look at embassy websites. We can help find, resources on consulates and things like that. However, it is your responsibility to apply for your own visa. We do not have the power to do that for you. Your host institution also needs to issue their own documentation, giving you proof of admission into that university for their own country's visa. So as Megan said, we are more than happy to help look at things like that. It is on you to make sure that you're following their instructions, to make sure that you're going to that embassy or consulate and working with that host university or provider company to get the documentation that you need to enter the country for the time and for the purpose that you need.
Right. Thank you for that clarification, Shelby. In addition, this information was for US citizens. If you're a non-US citizen, then reach out to International Student and Scholar Services. Talk to them about how traveling abroad might impact your stay here in the US, or what you might need to do differently traveling to another country, applying for visas as a non-US citizen. Let's see. Yes, the PowerPoint and the recording will be shared later on. Okay, so yes. Okay. So in addition to your passport, you'll have the physical copy with you, but you should also make digital copies and have printed copies with you. Same thing with your visa. So a lot of times the visa will be like a sticker or a stamp on a page in your passport. Make sure you take a picture of that or have a copy of that in case something happens to your passport while you're abroad, or if you can't access it readily, you should have a copy of it and a digital copy saved on your phone. I like to email copies to myself or save them in Google Docs or Google Drive, just so I can access them anywhere. Like if my phone breaks and I lose my passport and everything just isn't working out for that day, I can still log in on like a laptop or something and pull up those really important documents, which will really help kind of remedy the process. Okay. Vaccinations and inoculations, including the COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of countries, or most countries, will require that you have the COVID vaccine card. So make sure you have that physical copy with you while you're traveling. Have that as you're going through the airport. Keep it with your passport, but also, again, save a copy of it. Some host universities might reach out to you about putting together like a digital vaccine passport. So just make sure you're reading your emails and kind of following along with the information that's being shared with you. Again, more things to keep with you are proof of insurance. We'll go over some more insurance information later on. We'll give you all of that information, but just make sure that you're saving that in your phone and you have those physical copies with you. Again, anything that's really important that if you lose could like impact you negatively, try to have a copy of that. So credit and debit cards, make sure you know that information. And of course, have an emergency contact. So a family member, trusted person back home, you can leave copies with them so that if you lose everything, they can share that with you and kind of help recover some of that information.
Those in case of emergency cards that I put in there as well, that can be like a slip of paper or a post-it note or something that has your name, email address, phone number, something like that. I usually put those in like my camera case, my laptop case, kind of things like that, in case like I were to misplace it or it gets lost somewhere. Then yeah, that's what I mean by in case of emergency cards.
I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go right ahead.
If I have a severe allergy that I could need an EpiPen for, should I have like an information on me that I have an EpiPen?
Yeah, I would say it's always a good idea to have like prescription or allergy information. We are going to go over like emergency services provider and your travel and health insurance a little later on. But if you're, my general rule of thumb is if you're worried about someone knowing about your emergency needs, have that on your phone, on your person, in your email somewhere, if you want people to know about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I was wondering, my visa for Israel requires me to have financial proof that like I'm going to be able to support myself during the time of my program. If I have that as a scholarship acceptance letter, like say the Gilman, I'm going on the Gilman, is that going to be accepted by them, or do they really need to see those bank statements?
That depends on the country. And you should be able to work with the provider that you're, or the university that's hosting you for more specifics on that. Generally speaking, I guess I can speak to students coming into the United States. Letters of scholarship or things like that do typically count towards financial proof. That being said, I'm not an expert in immigration to every country that you guys are going to, and it's best to talk to your host about that.
Let's see, Tanner, were you raising your hand?
Yeah, but it was just a minor question. It was
Okay.
I had a bit of RA stuff to do. So will this PowerPoint also be sent to us by email, or?
Yes, we will be sending the PowerPoint, we'll be sending the recording, we'll be sending a reminder about bowling night on Thursday, and all kinds of stuff. So all of this is going to go out in an email probably tomorrow because you're going to be tired and so are we. But yeah, don't worry about it. If you have to leave early, I've gotten a couple messages about that. If you come in late, that's totally fine. We'll make sure that you have this information somehow.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So jumping back into things, the airport, all of you, I believe, will be flying. So for international flights, you can check in online 24 hours in advance. I definitely recommend doing this because this will flag like the airline and let them know that you still intend on taking the flight. And hopefully that will kind of reduce any delays or getting bumped to a different flight if they're overbooked. So just make sure you're checking in, and also make sure you're arriving to the airport at least 3 hours before you plan to depart, especially for international flights. You definitely don't want to miss them. So make sure you leave like ample enough time to go through security. Security can fluctuate on how long it takes. So don't expect that just because it took 10 minutes the first time you went through Pitt Airport, that it will take 10 minutes this time. It could take an hour, it could take a little bit more. It just depends on the day and kind of the flow of traffic there. So make sure you're checking in early, make sure you're arriving at least 3 hours in advance so that you can get to your gate on time. And then of course, make sure that you're checking the masking and testing requirements for the airline that you're going on, and also the country that you're arriving in. See if they have any testing requirements, if they require proof of a negative COVID test within 24 or 48 hours of traveling. Make sure you're checking that. So kind of like with visas, it is your responsibility to check and abide by all of these travel requirements. And I believe right now, all airlines and airports in the US still do require masks. So just make sure you're going in with a mask. All right, packing. We definitely recommend packing light. Make sure that what you're taking is something you can carry or easily kind of wheel with you. And a lot of airlines will tell you what the weight limit is. Pack under that weight limit, especially if you plan on bringing souvenirs back. You're going to want that space in your suitcase. Also, we take for you to get to the airport, find out you're 5 pounds over limit and have to take something out and maybe throw it away or kind of rearrange everything right there in the middle of the airport. So we want you to avoid that. Make sure you're weighing your suitcases and keeping them under that recommended weight. So pack the essentials. So any medications or anything that you know you'll require, make sure you have that with you. And for important things like medications, generally we recommend having that in your carry-on so you always have access to that. And it's not something that if your suitcase gets lost, you'll lose it. For a lot of items, such as like personal items like soap and shampoo, you'll be able to purchase that once you arrive in your destination. So again, packing under the weight limit, a lot of times you don't need to bring those with you. So you can save that space and use that weight for something else. All right, and then of course, we're seeing different weather than we are right now. So other hemispheres will have different seasons at this time. So make sure you're looking up the average weather for the place you're going and pack the clothes accordingly. Is my Wi-Fi holding up or did I cut out?
You're kind of in and out, but we're catching your messages.
Okay. Additionally, make sure you're checking the TSA's website since they will have guidelines on what you can take in your bag or in your luggage. Especially for carry-on luggage, there are quite a few stipulations. The liquids need to be relatively small, so make sure you're checking the exact size of those. Make sure you're checking medications and which ones you can travel with and how to travel with those, and electronics. At the airport, they'll have you take those out so they can put those through the machine separately.
Yeah, we are going to cover like medications and health stuff a little bit later, but I saw that Sean posted a packing tip, a very good packing tip. My mom sometimes packed an empty backpack in a suitcase since she knew she would bring stuff back. Your friends and family will love you if you bring things back for them. Does anyone else have any packing tips?
For Christmas, my sister gave me, I've seen them in a couple videos or whatever, but they are like little mini containers, one for shirts, one for pants or whatever. And it seems kind of like redundant, but somehow, yeah, packing cubes, that's what it was. They really like zip things up really, really small. I don't know how, it's like magic, but I definitely would recommend them.
I've heard so many good things about that before. Roll your clothes, that's what I always do. Liquids in a bigger Ziploc bag. Yes, please like weigh double. I always like put things in a Ziploc and then put them in grocery bags and then put them in like a trash bag, just because I have had things explode. The air pressure in planes changes. So, and also like some of those bigger, like what Megan said, like shampoo, conditioner, like heavier things like that, that takes up a lot of weight. And usually you can purchase them in country. Good call, Sean, putting saran wrap at the tip, and putting the cap over it, wrap a hair tie. Yeah, y'all have really good advice. What else? Stuff things into your shoes. I'm trying to think. And when I studied, I spent a semester in Chile, and I kind of like what Sean said, I put a duffel bag in the bottom of my full-on suitcase just in case I needed to bring something bigger back. Pockets. Wait, they're reevaluating the mask thing in airports. TSA website and Twitter will update accordingly. What about pockets? What about pockets, Tanner? Oh, stuff things in them. Yeah, pockets are great. Tanner, you must never have worn girl pants. All right, cool. Keep on throwing your tips in the chat. That's really helpful. Megan, I'll let you keep on going.
Okay, money. This will be really important while you're abroad, because you'll need to eat, you'll need to take taxis places. Having access to your money is super important. So make sure you are notifying your bank before you leave. You can call them, you can go in person, or some banks like Chase have on the app where you can go ahead and select the countries you're planning to go to and the times will be there. So make sure you're updating that and have that as accurate as possible, so that they don't kind of cut you off from your funds while you're abroad. Because it might be a bit difficult to get in contact with them if that does happen. So, and we definitely recommend having multiple sources of money. So if you have a debit card that you're traveling with, bring some US dollars with you that you can convert into local currency, or bring a credit card with you. Make sure that you're not dependent on one form of money. And for like, if you're bringing US currency, you can exchange that in the airport at currency exchange, or there might be some banks like in the city that you're going to or in the country that you're going to that can exchange the currency for you. Just know that if you are doing like US dollars to local currency, there usually is like a surcharge. So just keep that in mind when you're kind of planning out your budget. Same thing with debit or credit cards. Check in with your provider to see if there are any international fees, and kind of plan ahead to see if it's better to withdraw a lump sum once you're there. That can get you through like a week or two, or if you can just kind of swipe your card as you go and not be impacted too much. So you can get local currency, like I said, at airport currency exchanges, money exchanges that are throughout the city or country that you're in, but also at ATMs. So if you take your US debit card and you're in France and you go to a bank that has an ATM attached to it, when you put your debit card into there and select the currency amount that you want, it's going to come out in euros or whatever that local currency is. So that's one kind of easy way to get around the currency exchanges. And like I said, make sure the ATMs you're using are attached to banks, either inside of them or directly attached to them, because if the ATM decides to take your debit card, that could be a really big problem if there isn't somebody there at the bank who's able to open up that machine and return it to you. My friend who was studying Thailand, she was in the airport, she missing her flight because she had to wait for somebody to come from a different bank, to come from outside the airport to open up that ATM. So just make sure as often as you can that you're using ATMs attached to banks that have somebody there who can help you. Okay, so communication is super important while you're abroad, communicating with us, but also communicating with your friends and family and everybody who's still here while you're traveling. So of course, first and foremost is your cell phone. Check in with your service provider to see if they offer international plans, if you're already covered, and what that coverage includes. So maybe you have free texting in country, maybe you have texts and calls, maybe you have none of that. Just check in with your provider so that you're not surprised by any charges and you know how to kind of go in and navigate this area. Okay, also, when you go to the airport, you can purchase a SIM card or gain access to like local cell service and texting, but your phone will need to be unlocked for that. So again, check in with your provider and kind of see what your options are. I definitely recommend SIM cards. They are pretty convenient when you have friends in country, when you're trying to communicate with other people in country. You might also want to look into a VPN, which is a virtual private network. I'm sure a lot of you have heard a lot about those throughout quarantine, but basically it's just a way to kind of have a more secure connection while you're abroad or even if you're in the US. All right, and then you'll need to charge your phone somehow, so make sure you have a power outlet adapter. An adapter is just something that will kind of take the US kind of outlet that we have where it's the 2 prongs and convert it into whatever the local outlet is. So some of them might have completely different setups, have 3 prongs. Some of them might be round, whereas ours are kind of flat. Make sure you have that adapter, otherwise you won't be able to plug like your phone or your laptop or anything into those local outlets. Also, you might need a converter, which will convert like the amount of electricity that is being pulled out of that wall or put into your cell phone. They'll convert it so that you're not shorting out the circuits of a town in Italy, or you're not kind of putting the breaker out by using a hairdryer or something like that. So make sure you're checking to have an adapter, which will change the shape, but also a converter, which will change like the amount of electricity.
There's also like universal converter / adapters that you can get like at Walmart or from Amazon. So you can just get an all-in-one kind of thing. Usually this is an issue for smaller appliances like hair dryers, hair straighteners, hair stuff in general. It might even be worth your while just to get that stuff in country because it's built for that voltage. This does not usually cause problems for things like phone chargers or computer chargers. And the other thing I'll throw out there is if it doesn't work once, it won't work twice. I had a student blow out fuses in 2 different locations in Spain trying to do the same thing with the same hair straightener. If it doesn't work, it won't work, and find something else to do.
Right, and I definitely recommend having more than one universal converter and have it in your carry-on so that you always have access to that. Don't put that in your checked bag. All right, so helpful technology, again, using your cell phone or your laptop. Social media is very helpful to kind of stay in touch with friends and let everybody know that you're having an awesome time in the country that you're in. As the Facebook Messenger is great for keeping in contact, Instagram Messenger, any social media come to them. Some specific apps that you can download might be GroupMe or WhatsApp. WhatsApp will let you kind of text and FaceTime and have phone calls, but using Wi-Fi. Caveat is you should download WhatsApp before you go abroad because it will kind of check in with your cell number. It'll text you or call you, and that's how you confirm that you're the one actually using the app. So do that before you go abroad. Maps.me is also a really great resource. You can download a map for the city that you're going to or even the country, and it will be available offline. So your cell phone, if you don't have Wi-Fi, if you don't have data, you can still use your GPS, which is something that surprised me when I was abroad, but your GPS can work with Maps.me. So even if you don't have service at all, you should still be able to figure out where you are on the map and kind of navigate to the place you need to go. So I definitely recommend that. And this is another one that will take a little bit of pre-planning before you lose connection. And then of course, offline entertainment is something we definitely recommend. During your flight, you might not have Wi-Fi if you don't purchase it, or once you get into country, depending on your service, you might not have access to like your data. So it's always good to kind of have an ebook downloaded, have some music saved on your phone, just have a few fun things kind of ready for you for when you kind of have a little bit of downtime and need something to do.
This is a plug for your local library. If you have a library card, I'm from Indiana. I still have a library card in Indianapolis. I've lived here for 6 years, but I still have a library card in Indianapolis. They usually have apps where you can download ebooks and audiobooks for free. Jeff Bezos doesn't need any more money. You can use Audible if you want, but I do recommend your local library as well.
I see Sean put into the chat that he recommends turning your phone onto airplane mode before you go, just to check that everything is still there. Definitely, that's a really good one, Sean.
Yeah, and download like podcasts or the music, like the playlist that you want on Spotify or whatever you use. Okay, review part 2. In the chat, what are 2 documents you should bring with you? Passport and visa, thank you. Any other thoughts? Airline ticket, good one to have. What are 2 options for exchanging money? Airport and banks, bank, ATM, and airport. Muy bien, excelente. Vámonos. Okay, I'm going to give a quick overview of your travel and health insurance. As you guys know, you are all enrolled and you have coverage through a group called International SOS. You do not need to enroll or do anything special to register for this insurance coverage. You have access to this as long as you have this membership ID number. We will send this to you in a follow-up email, but I also recommend like having it on your phone or somewhere nearby. They have a super great website. You can log in using this membership ID number and get like super relevant information for each country that you're looking at, including COVID protocols, including cultural sensitivity, including health and safety concerns. So that's a really useful tool that you have at your disposal. They also have apps that you can download. So you can download their app on your phone and it'll have like your location specific advisories or information or phone number if you need to call them for any reason. If you have any kinds of concerns or if you want to know more about the services that will be available to you while you're there, be that for medication purposes, be that for mental health services or for any other like general practitioner, you can always call them ahead of time and say, hey, I'm traveling to this country with WVU. What do I need to know? Can I give you my information just to have a case open in case you need to just, call them and get things rolling right away. You have coverage anywhere outside the US. So if you are in the Atlanta airport and you're on your way to Spain, but you haven't made it to Spain yet, you don't have coverage. You'll have coverage as soon as you land there. You may be required to purchase additional coverage in the host country. This depends country by country. Talk to us, talk to your host about whether or not that's required. Okay. Any questions about this insurance coverage before I move away from this screen? I say, like, take a picture of this real quick, like make sure that you have this. If nothing else from today, make sure that you have this. Like I said, I will send it out, like all this information directly through email as well, but it's good to have. Okay, I'm moving on. You all signed a COVID-19 travel policy. Your electronic signature on this is required for you to study abroad for programs that you guys are going on. So like more independent summer stuff that might be a little longer term, or it's not like a WVU faculty-led program, or for semester or year-long programs. You are required to meet local requirements, right? So depending on where you're going, it's expected that you're going to comply with whatever the requirements are. You have to follow the vaccine policy of whatever the local authority is for that country, region, university, host, anything like that. If you have any like exemption needs or accessibility needs, please talk to us and we can work with the Office of Accessibility Services and see what kinds of accommodations can be made. This is just going to depend, again, on where you're going. By going to that university and participating with that provider company, you are agreeing implicitly to their regulations and their standards. As you're traveling, COVID still exists. Yeah, it does. So follow the CDC and the World Health Organization guidelines. Highly recommend checking in with them every once in a while. As you're traveling, especially through airports, mask mandates may be changing, testing requirements for each country may be changing. But more than anything, as you're traveling, do things for your own safety, but also consider the other people that you're traveling with, right? If you haven't been feeling well, out of respect for everyone else, right? Mask up. And for the people that you are going to be around in your host country, travel being mindful of them and what you're being exposed to and what that might expose them to in consequence. You're responsible for knowing the guidelines and regulations wherever you're going and however you're traveling. We do have an international risk manager on staff. Her name is Tara. She is lovely. We'll talk about her later. We are going to do our best to keep you updated with local things that are happening, but ultimately you're responsible, right, for where you're going and taking charge of that. I highly recommend getting the vaccine if you haven't yet. Depending on where you go, it might not be as widely available, right? This is a privilege that you have. Make sure that you have a booster if needed. Vaccination requirements may, for a lot of countries, do include the booster shot. These are some places where you may want to double check what those regulations are going to look like. Airline and port of entry, right? Does American Airlines or Delta have requirements on their planes? And does the airport in Paris have requirements when you land on the ground? You may need a negative test. There might be quarantine requirements. It may be a negative test within a certain amount of days or hours. Local country guidelines and legislation, sorry. If there's a curfew at any point, business operations may be limited, just depending on what's happening there. Are there penalties for violating those things? Some countries have local apps where you can log your vaccination requirement or vaccination status or booster status or anything like that. So check in with your local country. Also, of course, your host, wherever it is that you're studying, they may have different regulations surrounding events and gatherings, what kinds of clinics and testing they have available, contact tracing procedures. You guys know how it's been at WVU. Everyone is taking their own precautions, right? Everyone has their own process as we're managing this super great world event that we are all just trying to figure out, right? Talk to them about what you should do to be prepared. Also, as a disclaimer, WVU and also your hosts have the right to cancel a program if the situation becomes too risky. So you can talk to us if you have questions about what that risk looks like. We'll talk about that here in a second as well. But if something is deemed, risky beyond reason due to COVID or anything else, we have the right, and so does your host, to cancel that program. You're right, Tanner. Better safe than sorry. If you have paid anything through WVU, you'll be reimbursed. We won't charge you anything if your program gets canceled. Okay, other health concerns. Geez, wow. Make sure that you're bringing that health insurance member ID number, or if you have any other insurance coverage. Medications in their original bottles. Please do not dump pills into a Ziploc bag and throw them in your carry-on. Bad idea. It's helpful if you can bring a copy of your prescription just in case. And I always say, like, a personal travel health kit. You never think about needing a Band-Aid until you just really need a Band-Aid. The other thing with prescriptions, different countries have different regulations on medication, right? And there are some countries where what we consider widely available, like ibuprofen or cough medicine or something like that, may be restricted in other countries. So go to ISOS, look up their medication or pharmaceutical information, call them. If you have questions, you can contact them. If you have questions about that, just to make sure that you're falling within the regulations of that country. Bring enough for your entire stay as well. Talk to your medical provider and see like how much you can get, like if you can get 3 to 4 months at a time, or talk to ISOS about how to refill prescriptions while you're abroad. If you have any kind of disability or need any kind of accommodations, please talk to us. We're more than happy to work with you and also the Office of Accessibility Services and also your host to make sure that you're taken care of. Familiarize yourself with the counseling and mental health services of wherever you're going, right? We do have the Caruth Center here that is still absolutely accessible to you. That's a service that's available to you. But you'll also want to check in and see what's available at your host institution, right? Make sure that you're familiar with that beforehand rather than waiting until it's an emergency, right? As far as immunizations, I recommend going to the CDC website. You can Google CDC France and see what the recommended versus required vaccinations are for each country. WVU also has a travel clinic in our student health clinic on Evansdale. So if you want to talk to a doctor about what your personal concerns are going abroad to that specific country, you can talk to them and kind of see what their recommendations are. We did talk about COVID a little bit. Before I move on from health type of stuff, how are you guys feeling? Do you have any questions about this?
If we have one COVID shot and we're in the process of trying to get the second one, like, and we should be right up to when we're supposed to leave, is that going to be like an issue? Because I won't have my, I'll have my verification or my vaccination card when I go, but not like to apply for paperwork and stuff right now.
Sure. That should be fine. For the WVU side, that's fine. Check in with your host. I will say most places, most countries don't have a vaccination requirement just because it's not necessarily widely available. But check in with your airlines, check in with your host university. They're all going to have their own requirements.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Tanner, did you have a question?
Yeah, it was how many of these are offered at the thing in Evansdale?
Most of they should all be offered. One thing that they'll tell you, I think it's and first of all, I think you had to have these to come to college. So you should be vaccinated for like the everyone vaccinations. If you need something like malaria or whatever that is,
like hepatitis or something.
Yeah, they can usually give you a prescription or give you that immunization here.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go onto their website, they should have a whole list of all the vaccinations they can provide, and then the ones they can't. And I believe they have like references to who may be able to provide it.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else about health? Cool. Travel advisories. Megan, do you want to talk about this?
Yep. Yeah, so the U.S. Department of State issues travel advisories for every country. If you follow the link here, you will be able to see like what level advisory it is. They go 1 through 4, with 4 being the highest. And each advisory will tell you a bit more about the country. So you can look to see if it's level 3 or level 4 because of health, specifically because of COVID, or if there are other concerns in country like local crime or any other kind of thing that might be of concern to US citizens traveling. WVU is allowing travel to level 3 and lower. If the country is a level 4, you will be required to submit a petition to travel to that country about a month before your program is scheduled to start. So keep checking your emails. We will be sending out like updated information. Also on the US Department of State's website, search the country you're going to, but also try to search like the city and see where the nearest embassy or consulate is. The embassies will offer a lot of resources to US citizens who are traveling. Like if you lose your passport, you'll need to get into contact with them. If you have any concerns, really, the embassy or consulate may be able to assist. So just make sure you're going onto the website, finding that nearest embassy or consulate and saving their emergency number, but also saving their address. And again, this is something you'll want to put in your phone but also kind of write this down if you have a notebook that you're traveling with, or have this information saved somewhere. If the travel advisory increases while you're abroad, we'll be in contact with you. Our risk manager, Tara, as we said, she will be sending out updates, and she'll be reaching out to people accordingly, depending on like the state of travel or the state of the advisory for the particular country that you're in. So just make sure you're checking your WVU Mix account for those emails and responding to them. It's really important that you respond to these emails that we send out in a timely fashion, because they could like potentially impact you and have an really relevant information about safety in country.
I know it's easy to ignore our emails. I know that we send you a lot. I know that we're helicopter parents. We care about you and want to make sure that you're safe and happy. Tara, especially, that's her job. And a lot of times parents get forwarded to Tara. So if she reaches out to you, it's just helpful for us to know that you've received the message. It didn't go to your spam, and you're aware of what's happening, and you can receive help as needed.
All right. As I mentioned, level 4 with the U.S. Department of State is the highest level they can issue to a country. So level 4 destinations have tentatively been approved if they are level 4 specifically because of COVID. So what does this mean for you? Travel is constantly changing. The COVID situation is constantly changing. So we, our office, and Tara, our risk manager, will continue to kind of monitor the situation in country. We'll monitor COVID cases, local restrictions, and how that might impact you as like student traveler studying in country. Keeping this in mind and how COVID is something we're continuing to live with, some services with the US Embassy might not be offered, or they might be a little bit slower to respond. So kind of keep this in mind as you're planning on doing anything. Just make sure that you're informing us, that you're checking our emails, but also kind of keeping an eye on COVID levels in country. Of course, like I said, our office is here for you, Tara is here for you, but also ISOS, our international services provider. You can call them at any point before you go abroad, while you're abroad, if you have any questions, or if you have any concerns about COVID cases in country or anything that might be happening at all in the area. You can reach out to ISOS. We also have a 24/7 emergency assistance line, and that information will be shared with you in our follow-up email. So again, make sure that you're saving that to your phone, but also save it in another place in case you lose your phone or you don't have like service through your own phone. Also, you're still a WVU student, so you can access our services. So if you would like counseling services, you still have access to the Proof Center. You still have access to all of the services that you would normally have here as a WVU student. So, as I mentioned, with COVID, like, oh, are we skipping? Let's see.
I'm sorry, I'm dying over here.
Okay, I wasn't sure if my connection was bad or what was going on.
Nope, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so like I said, the COVID situation, it's continuing to fluctuate, and we will be keeping an eye on that. And again, make sure you're checking the embassy's website for relevant information about what services they can provide, and if there are any changes in service due to holidays or due to maybe a change in COVID cases while you're abroad.
I'm sorry, I'm like having a coughing fit over here. I want to address a question that I keep getting messages about. A lot of countries are at level 4 or level 3 right now. If it is exclusively due to COVID, we have that travel petition that we'll send to you, Tara, and also our director. Okay, Tara and also our director will be reviewing like everyone's itineraries, your programs in WVU Abroad, like your application is linked to an itinerary. They'll be reviewing your destinations, your dates, and checking, those level advisories for each country. If your country is at a level 4, around a month before you depart. They'll review it or send you a travel petition link, this link right here. And they'll be in touch with you to have you fill it out. If that level 4 advisory is only due exclusively to COVID cases, those have been pretty widely approved. The only cases where level 4 travel has not been approved is if the level 4 is due to like terrorism or something like that. So if you're all Googling what your travel advisory is right now, more than likely it's at a level 3 or level 4. Around a month before your departure, you'll probably get an email if it's still at a level 4 to do that travel petition. Does that make sense to everyone?
So when I was looking the other day, it said Spain was a level 4 and it had COVID and terrorism listed. Is there a way that we can tell which one is the primary like concern?
Usually if you're looking on here, there should be a way, like, I think it has like details about exercise caution due to this, or like do not travel because of it. Like there's a whole lot of different like language that surrounds each advisory. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we can forward you on to Tara if you want more information about your particular destination.
Okay,
Right. And when they're reviewing the travel petitions for level 4 countries, they will check to see if like that terrorism advisory is level 2, meaning it's not a huge concern, but it is something to keep an eye on. Or if it is something of greater concern, then they might not approve the program. But again, if it's level 4 only for COVID, for health reasons, then we have seen a number of those be approved.
Thank you.
How do you all feel about that? I know it's confusing. I know that there's a lot of gray areas. This is our first pandemic too. So I know it's confusing, but please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns about your specific gray area. We're happy to help.
All right, so another service offered by the U.S. Department of State is STEP. So with STEP, I recommend doing this kind of right now or saving the link. We'll also send this to you. But for STEP, you can register your email address. You can also register your phone number and put the country that you're going to, when you'll be there. And the Department of State will send you very timely, very relevant updates about what is going on in the country that you're traveling to. So they will update you about if there's any kind of curfews or if there's a change in COVID regulations, if there's a spike in COVID cases, or if there's going to be like a political demonstration in a certain area. They might say there's a demonstration in this area, stay out of that vicinity just because there'll be a large crowd and a lot of people. So STEP, definitely enroll in it. You can have your friends and family enroll in it if they're very curious about staying on top of the situation in your country. Everybody can kind of enroll in this and get those very timely updates. Okay, so safety concerns. And while you're abroad, you will probably have like a few items with you that you would like to not lose, such as your phone or maybe your laptop. So valuables, make sure you're keeping those like in sight, somewhere that's safe, and don't take things that are extremely sentimental, very expensive, and that you can't replace. So if you have like a cherished family heirloom, like a necklace, maybe leave that at home for the summer or leave that somewhere that's safe, because if you lose that or something happens, your luggage is lost, we would hate for you to lose like that really precious or very expensive item. So we recommend leaving those at home. And money and cell phones and everything, keep those where you can see them, where you have them. So in your hand, in your front pocket. If you have a backpack on, feel free to move that like in front of you so you can always kind of keep an eye on all of those pockets and zippers to make sure that nothing is kind of wandering off as you go through public transportation or go through the airport. Just be very aware of your surroundings and kind of the places you're navigating through.
Can I jump in for just a second? As far as like your valuables and where you're putting them, it's not always about not trusting anyone that you're with. Sometimes it's about being respectful of the places that you are. I was a chaperone for a group that went to Spain while I was a grad student. We were there for a month. And a few weeks in, one of the housekeepers approached me and the faculty leader and said, hey, listen, your students are leaving cash out on their desks and it's making us uncomfortable as housekeepers. Just because, you know, that's putting them in a situation that's like not fair to them. And so, I mean, it's not always about not trusting people, but it's also about not putting other people who are hosting you in an uncomfortable situation.
Right. Thanks for that, Shelby. To continue with things, you're going to be in a new place, somewhere you haven't been before, around people you haven't, sometimes people you've only just met. So make sure that you're taking precautions and moving safely through the place that you're in, especially at night. So if you're doing a group program, kind of stay with the group, or if you're somewhere new, kind of establish some friendships, get to know some people, and kind of stay with that group and travel with them. Again, especially at night. And trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, if a particular turn or alleyway doesn't seem right for you, don't go. Trust yourself and try to make the decisions that are best for you and your well-being. And of course, your behavior, make sure that you are kind of following along with local guidelines. So the drinking age might be different in a different country. So if you're not experienced with drinking, but you're allowed to, take it easy. Make sure that you're checking in with yourself and doing things that are comfortable for you, so that you feel safe and that everybody in the group that you're with still feels safe and respected, kind of like Shelby said. And of course, you're adults. If you decide to engage in sexual practices, be sure that you are practicing safe sex.
Do you want me to take? Sorry, everyone. It's a time. All right. Another aspect of safety is, you know, the culture that you're joining. Of course, there's yourself, and you have to take care of yourself, but you also want to care about the people that you're around. Read up on the culture that you're going to and learn what's appropriate or inappropriate. That could include the way that you dress. That could include the conversation topics that you use. That could include like gestures, things that you do without, you know, thinking about it too much. I know in Latin America, where I spend a lot of time, it's inappropriate to point directly at someone. And if you're going to gesture towards someone, you do it with your lips. And you'll just like point towards that person with your face. So those are little things that it'll take time. You're going to mess it up every once in a while, which is great. That's part of traveling. But ISOS is really great about having those cultural tips and just how to navigate those spaces. And along with like being appropriate towards your host culture may be inappropriate towards you, right? Conversation topics that you would consider taboo may come up. And that's, you know, part of what I mentioned down here. You'll probably hear about people's impressions of the United States. I know that we had a faculty who talks about when she studied in England, someone heard her accent and walked up and asked if she owned a gun, just outright. So it's not always that people are tactful towards you. That's also something to prepare for, right? Be open to listening to what they have to say. Also be aware that you're representing a lot of different groups. You're representing the United States or your home culture or, you know, any other, you know, people group. I, as a biracial Hispanic person, have gone to like India and places like that. So, you know, you might be representing more than just the United States. You're also representing WVU, right? I know how WVU students are. You love to wear our gear. We wear hats, we wear t-shirts because they're handed out for free everywhere we go. If you are in the airport being nasty to people and you're wearing West Virginia University stuff, people are going to associate that with us. Same with the host universities. I've been in situations where people have said, oh, you guys are from WVU? I've come to expect XYZ. Sometimes that's a positive thing, sometimes that's a negative thing, right? But you guys are the legacy. I can be as nice as possible to our coordinators, but you guys are the ones on the ground there. Okay. Super quick health and safety review. Where can you find information about local COVID-19 guidelines and regulations? Anyone? ISOS? Yes. Very good. We will send you an email with that membership ID number specifically, as well as these slides, as well as this presentation. ISOS is a good place to look for that. Immigration website. Muy bien. Who should you contact if you have a medical need? ISOS. Very good. Also, like your host country, like our exchange students here on campus are welcome to use student health. And your parents, talk to Tara, our international risk manager. Where are some places where you should log your travel? WV itinerary, step, you can, your phone, you can do that. But if you want to know what's happening in your area, you can also, ISOS also has advisories that you can enroll in. So culture is a lot of things, right? When you talk about your own culture, you may think of some like key components, you know, in West Virginia, it might be pepperoni rolls and hospitality. In Spain, it might be food and, you know, lack of personal space, that kind of thing, right? But when we talk about culture, there are two kind of dimensions. There's the surface culture, and this is like a super tacky visual, but it works, of the iceberg, right? You have the things that you see on the outset, that surface culture, you know, music, food, holidays, what they wear, what they talk about, right? Their sense of personal boundaries. But underneath of that is just a whole plethora of values, of belief systems and ideology, of attitudes, right? And what's important and what isn't, or what time is supposed to do, right? Arriving early, arriving late, or arriving right on time. Yeah, you all have your perceptions of how that works. And your host culture is going to have different perceptions of that. Show of hands or thumbs up or emojis of some kind. Has anyone ever experienced culture shock? Daniel has, Sarah has, Charles has, some other people have, another Sarah has, right? It's something that you may have experienced if you're at WVU. You may have experienced that coming to Morgantown, right? There's a lot here and you're like, why does like burning couches have anything to do with anything, right? But there are always going to be some kind of adjustments to any new circumstance that you're joining, right? So culture shock is the physical and emotional discomfort, right, of joining a new environment and having to adjust to that. It may be more uncomfortable for some people than for others. You're all going abroad for different lengths of time. You may experience it differently, but we do talk about like 4 general stages. So first is the honeymoon, right? Things are awesome. The food is great. You are meeting a lot of new people. You're doing all kinds of cool things and exploring. That second stage is frustration, where you're realizing that you can't catch on to the expectations or the way of living, how people conceive of time. You know, you can't read the menu when you go to restaurants. You can't find what you're looking for in grocery stores, right? That's kind of this frustration, the little things that kind of grate over time. Acceptance is when you are aware and okay with the fact that they're different there, right? It's like, all right, I can deal with the fact that in Latin America, they have no concept of personal space. They're just going to be in my space, and that's fine. I can kiss people on the cheek, and we're just different, and that's okay. Adaptation is actually taking on those traits yourself. You may have noticed I speak a lot with my hands. I'm very gesticular, right? That happened as soon as I started learning Spanish. Once I started spending more time in Latin America, I started being a lot more gestural. I don't think that's a word. But if you're going to a country where they drive on the opposite side of the road, right? You may have to adjust to people walking on the other side of the sidewalk as well. And then when you come back to the States, you're going to have to adjust to walking back on the other side of the sidewalk, right? It's important to note that these are not linear stages, right? You may be extremely frustrated when you first arrive. That happened to me when I went to Chile, and I just needed a moment, like a couple days, to readjust, get my body adjusted to where I was, getting to, you know, meet my host family and all that kind of stuff. And then things started, you know, picking up from there. You may be in the honeymoon stage that entire time. And I'm so happy for you if that's the case. That's amazing. The last stage that's kind of in parentheses is that reverse culture shock. And that's when you come back to the States and have to readjust to life here in Morgantown. Not only life here in Morgantown, but life in Morgantown with people who didn't have the same experience as you for the last however long. Okay. I love talking to people about that. So feel free. I get emails from students who are abroad if they have questions about how to adjust to life. I can give you what I did. But here's a quick just visual on what culture shock looks like. There's external triggers, right? The weather's different, the food is different, language might be different. It will be different, even if you're going to Ireland or England, right? They may have different values or different etiquette that you're just not used to. And that has physiological and psychological symptoms, right? You may notice that you're more irritable. You may notice that you're not sleeping the same as you used to. You may not notice that your appetite has changed, or that you're more likely to stay withdrawn or stay isolated. And it may even be physiological, right? You may get stomach aches or headaches. The important thing is to know when you're off balance, right? You may deal with these things on a regular basis anyways, but if you're experiencing it in a different way, that's something to take stock of and know what resources are available to you, right? So some coping strategies include journaling or blogging. It's a good way to document what you're doing so that you can look back, first of all, right? And see how far you've come, or see what you don't want to forget. I know that you guys don't blog. I kept a blog while I was abroad because it was a long time ago, but also so that I could send it to my family, so that they could keep up with what I was doing. And also that way I didn't have to tell the same story every, couple days or so. So the blogs can be useful for that. Also find a community. Yeah, we're going to send out, along with all this other stuff, a Google Doc for you guys to put your contact information in. That is for you. You guys can do whatever you want with that. That's where you can put your socials, your email address, any kind of, WhatsApp phone number or whatever, so that you can keep in touch with each other and just kind of get a feel for what WVU students are doing next semester or over the summer, right? There's also usually like student orgs, or there's different institutions, clubs, things like that, wherever you're going abroad. And then family and friends here at home are also available. It's a good time right now to kind of set the expectation for how communicative you'll be. If you're in a different time zone, make sure that your family knows that you may not talk to them as much as they're used to. Find your comfort zone in your new environment. When I studied in Chile, I got so sick of Spanish, and I would sometimes just want to read a book in English. I brought a couple books for pleasure, and I would listen to music. I would just sit there and listen to music in English, something that I was comfortable with. And of course, reignite that honeymoon stage, right? Go out and explore something, talk to people and see what the locals get into, find some new stuff to do. Okay. You all are hopefully using this experience to become intercultural, right? I hope that this shows up on your resume one day when you're looking into your career and trying to show off how versatile and flexible and intercultural you are, right? But just to dig a little bit into what that actually means, there are some practical steps you can take, right? Recognize those cultural differences for what they are. They're differences. That's kind of that acceptance phase, right? Where you're not viewing something as better or worse, you're just seeing it as different. But then compare those differences with your home culture, right? Why are these things different, and how are they fueled into those, different categories? I spent a summer in India, and I had an older guy approach me, and he said, "Oh, you're from the United States? I just heard the worst thing about Americans." And I was like, "Oh, great, again." And he said, "I heard that Americans will abandon their families when they're 18 years old and move out of the house." And I was like, "Oh, that's a thing to talk about." And it was such a just paradigm shift, right? Of, oh, there's a difference in family structure versus independence and what we view that as, right? It's not that one is better or worse, it's just different values at the core. Learn how to navigate those new spaces and values by asking questions. Like I said, not everyone will approach you with the most tact or respect when they're asking you questions about your home culture, but you do have control over how you're navigating those spaces, and allow some space for misinterpretation. You are going to mess up, and that's the best part. You're going to screw it up, and just allow some grace for yourself. Everyone else will. It'll be fine. We'll all have a laugh. Okay, once you're back, look for an email from us with some updates. We want to keep in touch with you after you get back. And remember, it was a long time ago, right? It was 50 years ago when we talked about the transient credit process. Don't forget about those things. We'll send you information about that too. We also offer a certificate program. If you guys are not aware, if you want to add a certificate to your active degree that you're working on right now, it is very minimal additional work, and it shows tangibly on your transcript your engagement with global competency. So there are 2 1-credit courses that you can take. I teach GLOW 101 in person, Intro to Global Competency. If you hate listening to me, there's also an online section. And then there's also like a summative kind of capstone course. Again, 1-credit courses, very minimal labor. There's a language component and a core component, which is just global classes. And then you have to study abroad, which you're doing, which is great. Connect with us on social media. Like I said, you can look back at what some past students have done. There have been some takeovers. There have been some posts. We're on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, mostly Instagram. If you ever want to do a takeover, let us know. If you ever send us pictures, we'll ask you if you want to have those posted on our socials. But in any case, you know how to reach us. Read our emails, please. There's so much there. I know that this was a lot. I really appreciate you guys being here, and I know I definitely overstepped our our time goal. But are there any questions or anything that I didn't cover? You're all released from here. If you can't stay any longer, that's totally fine. You can log off. But if anyone has any lingering questions, please, I'll be here.
I have one that's kind of dumb, maybe. But
No dumb questions.
On the packing, for clothes, how many outfits should we kind of take with us?
Sure. And I know it's tough for a semester. I would say assume that you can do laundry every couple weeks or so. Would you say, Megan?
Right. I usually recommend, or when I travel, I usually try to pack as though I'm going only for 2 weeks. And I try to kind of spread things out. So I have one nice outfit that could be for rather fancy things. If you're doing an internship, then I do recommend bringing some business attire with you, but also kind of have just that casual everyday wear stuff. And you should have access to laundry facilities. So you don't need 40 different outfits. You should be able to get by on mix and match 10 or so outfits.
The other thing too, you can usually buy stuff while you're there, and
Yes.
you probably do want to buy stuff while you're there. I always end up with like stupid tourist t-shirts. But yeah, bear that in mind too.
Or like a snow globe or something.
I mean, also that, but you can't wear a snow globe.
No,
Not appropriately.
you wear a snow globe costume.
You could. That's a good
Also,
point.
another thing about packing clothes, it will kind of depend on the country that you're going to. So I know a lot of Asian countries like Japan and Taiwan, they're not going to have clothing sizes for like Americans because we're quite a bit taller generally, and especially shoe sizes. Those larger shoe sizes or even average shoe sizes for us are very difficult to find and maybe very expensive. So just kind of know the place that you're going and maybe plan for that. Bring an extra pair of shoes, make sure you have some stuff with you.
All right. I'm doing Japan, and honestly, I'm built like a 12-year-old, so
You'll do fine, Sarah.
Yeah.
The other thing I would mention was shoes. If you're planning on walking a lot, like I went to India and I brought like 3 pairs of Old Navy flip-flops, and within a week I had busted through one of them. So I ended up buying flip-flops there, and they lasted me years. I think I just threw them away like a month ago. So some of those things may be better purchased in country, like shoes, especially depending on, size differences and things like that. But they're built for where they are. Olivia, I saw your question about the Google Doc. We'll send it out with our follow-up email. We do have to wait for this video to be added or like uploaded into a shareable format. So it'll probably be tomorrow or the next day when you'll see that. Any other questions?
Yeah, could you guys go over the petition thing again?
Yeah. So if your destination country is at a level 4 travel advisory through the US State Department, within a month of your departure, right? So if your program starts in May, June, I don't know off the top of my head for Chimba, but our risk manager or our director will email you and say, hey, your country is at a level 4 travel advisory right now, fill out this petition. And if the advisory is only at a level 4 due to COVID reasons, that has usually been approved without a problem. If the determining factor in that level 4 designation is something other than COVID, it'll take further review. Our risk manager will take a look at it. We'll look more locally at where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And that might have an impact.
So is there really any chance that I won't be able to go? Because I know somebody from West Virginia went to Chimba in the past semester or fall semester, and
Yep.
I've been playing this for a while, and this is the first time I've heard about this, so it's just kind of confusing, but so is the petition is it really just a kind of an acknowledgement in a way?
The petition is saying it'll ask your vaccination status, your knowledge of your host country where you're going, or the university that you're going to. It's basically just checking in to make sure that you're aware of what you're going into with COVID. I haven't had any students have, their travel canceled due to petitions for COVID.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it just got me a little bit worried because I don't have any backup options for the summer. So, I've been playing this for months now. So,
I know.
But it's also Chimba in Italy. It's not like I'm going to somewhere in the Middle East. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But
yeah, I don't foresee too much happening in Italy, but it's my first pandemic too, and we're also super disappointed when things get canceled. It's never, best case scenario, but
I should be fine because I know Brian Shane told me like I said, another girl went to Chimba in the past semester. But I don't know. I mean, I did look at the other European countries around Italy, and pretty much all of them are level 4 with COVID, and then it also said like, oh, a potential threat for terrorism.
Right.
But that's like, you can say the same thing for the United States, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
I mean,
understand it.
like-
And that's why we have our international risk manager. And that's like, she refers to different resources. Like there's a whole field that looks at this. Also, like you said, most of those Western European countries are going to have a level 4 right now. And that's why that's like the petition will parse out. It's a level 4 only because of COVID. Or it, you know, there's terrorism involved, but that's like a level 2 designation or level 3 designation.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to like find if it gave it like a level 1 through 4 for terrorism, but all it says, it just says like country summary, terrorist groups are, you know, maybe plotting an attack, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't give like a level.
Exactly. And again, it's like, since things are going to change in the next
Yeah.
however many weeks, right? That's why you'll get an email about a month before you depart, before that itinerary departure date, from Tara or from Vanessa, my director, if that's a concern. And if you have any questions about like of your designation specifically, of Italy, where you're going, you can always shoot us an email. And like I said before, we can refer you to our international risk manager if you just want more information on how that's decided.
Okay, so I mean, looking at the website, it hasn't changed since December 13th. So I don't know if they're gonna change the I guess the status in like 2 weeks from now. So I don't know.
Well, we did send a student there for the spring. She's there right now.
Okay,
And if
so I mean, so
that's
basically what you're saying is I really have nothing to worry about.
correct.
I mean, if a student's already
That's-
there, then what's gonna change?
A student is already there. If anything
Yeah.
like goes crazy, or if, you know, I think she did have to fill out a travel petition, but again, that's really just saying, I acknowledge that it's a level 4, making sure that we're documenting that you're aware of
Yeah.
that, and any other considerations that you may need to take.
All right, thank you. I just want to clear that up, you know, and
Sure.
just ask you what the details about that.
Yep,
So
you're
all
fine.
right, yeah, thank you.
No problem. See you later, Spencer.
See you.
I have a big question.
Great.
What if we plan on voting and we're going to be
Ooh.
overseas by the time the election
Dang,
rolls around?
that used to be one of our slides. Be aware of that, and you can request an absentee ballot. Thank you for bringing that up. You can request an absentee ballot depending on like your state or your district or anything like that. I voted while I was studying abroad, and you can do like a mail-in ballot. If you just Google absentee voters for the US, that should come up.
All righty.
Right?
Also, when are we supposed to
Oh, go ahead.
isn't that
Hannah.
supposed to come in the next week? The email for Gonzaga?
Yeah, I just submitted your nomination today, and I think it's an automated thing. Check your spam and junk too,
Okay.
because it's going to be coming directly from them.
Okay. Thanks, Shelby.
No problem. See you later.
See you later.
Daniel, for you being a non-WVU student, you should check in with your home university about how the credits for the NSYC program might transfer in and what the requirements are, like if you have to fulfill like a mid-semester form or what exactly they need.
Okay, I will certainly do that. Right now, I'm moving forward as if I'm going to need to do it both for Fairmont State and for WVU.
Okay.
And so I'll certainly do that. And I really appreciate this has been very informative and has set a good goalposts up moving forward. So I appreciate all of this.
Good. Glad it was helpful. Right. Anything else, Jacqueline? I'm assuming you.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to double check with you guys what email like I would be getting emails at, because I don't think I know I've like communicated with at least Megan before, but I'm not sure that I've gotten any like other emails, and I just wanted to double check and make sure I wasn't like just put in the wrong email or something.
Sure. Let me pause my share. And Megan, I don't know if you've been in touch with her. It'll be whatever email addresses in our application system.
Okay. If it's, I haven't finished the I wasn't sure about the COVID thing where I wasn't
But
fully.
that's as long as you have like an open application, like you're in our rosters, we have your name somewhere, then, hang on, let me see.
Right. Yeah, Jacqueline, I've been emailing back and forth with you because I believe you specifically emailed me, or maybe I pulled an email of yours out of the like our general education abroad email account. Yeah. So that's how I've been communicating with you. But like Shelby said, whichever email you use to open your WVU abroad application, you should be receiving like automatic email reminders, but also our departure updates through that.
Okay. So as a WVU student, I do have your mix address in here. Double check, since it's just a whole thing. Double check your spam and junk folders too, because sometimes we send things and it doesn't go to your inbox automatically. I wish we could fix that. I have no idea how to fix that.
Cool.
So yeah, just double check that every once in a while. And if you haven't heard from us for like a really long time and you're expecting something, write to us.
Okay, I know I've heard back from Megan, and I'm pretty sure I've gotten a lot of the stuff, but I just was nervous. I just get nervous about missing paperwork.
I understand. Yeah, no. And like, as long as you're in touch with us, like, it's just us, right? Like, we're super understanding. If you like, everyone has their own timelines and things that are happening. That's totally fine. Just reach out. I won't penalize you or be mad at you if you miss like one of my deadlines that I made up on the spot.
Yeah, especially since you're going through an affiliate provider for summer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Okay.
You're in good shape.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. See you later.
Bye.